Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Am I the Bad Person? So today we're going to be talking about dealing with tough situations with your family. So sometimes that's going to be financial situations, sometimes it's going to be a death in the family. So there's a lot of situations that you'll have to account for when you're with your family. So it's important to understand what do you do in those situations. So let's dive right into one of the first posts. Am I the bad person for telling my sister and her family that they have to stay somewhere else, even though they lost everything? My 30F sister, 26F, lost everything. They live in North Carolina in one of the small towns that were hit. I want to say which one for privacy. Luckily, they were not home when it happened. Instead, they were off in Illinois for my wedding. They have been staying with me for around 3 weeks now. Both my sister and myself have children. She has a 5F, 3F, and then 1M. I have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old who gets into everything. I have absolutely everything locked. Cabinets, door handles, appliances, outlet covers, you name it. This is 100% needed with my toddler. Since day one of my sister being here, she has been complaining about all of the locks. She thinks they're a pain and will constantly leave everything unlocked, just so she doesn't have to deal with it. My toddler and hers have been getting into absolutely everything. It's dangerous for them, it's a mess, and quite frankly, it sucks. I have tried talking to her about it, but now she's trying to play the guilt game because she lost everything, and we said she could stay here. I get it. It sucks. It's absolutely devastating to have nothing to go home to. She hasn't even fully processed it yet, but this is still my home. Yesterday I reached my absolute limit when my toddler got into my cleaning closet. Luckily, all he got a hold of was the broom. I admit, I yelled at my sister. She started yelling back about losing everything. I yelled, it wasn't my fault, it happened, and told her she needed to find somewhere else to stay. I feel awful now. She's still here while she figures something out, but we haven't said a word to each other. Am I the bad person? So, this is a very tough situation. I'm going to say in this situation that you are the bad person, and I'll tell you why. It's a very tough situation when you lose everything in your life. That's probably one of the lowest points you can ever be, where you lost everything, you have nothing to turn to, and sometimes, the ray of hope that they have, which is you, her sister, is kind of also letting her down. So it's a tough thing, when you can just, you have to put yourself in their shoes and really realize that once you lose everything, it feels like everything's over and you don't really know what to do. It's a conundrum, and sometimes it takes family to get you out of that hole. It's something that, it's not that you owe it to your family, but it is something that, if you can own up to it, that's the key to helping each other and getting through the toughest times that we shared together. Am I the bad person for following my late sister's wishes and kicking our brother out of her funeral? My sister passed away recently after a long illness, and before she died, she made very clear instructions regarding her funeral. She specifically did not want her brother John to attend or receive any of her ashes. To provide some context, growing up, my sister wasn't kind to John. John also was not great. They fought like cats and dogs. As an adult, she sought therapy, recognized the damage she had done, and tried to make amends. She apologized multiple times and reached out, but John refused to reconcile. He was clear that he didn't want a relationship with her. When she became ill, my sister made one last attempt to reconnect, asking John to visit her. He declined again, stating that he had no interest in repairing the relationship, even as she was dying. This hurt her, and she made it clear that if he didn't want to see her while she was alive, she didn't want him at her funeral or receiving any part of her remains. In her view, if he couldn't show up for her in life, he had no right to be there in death. John showed up at the funeral uninvited. I think our uncle gave him the date and time in line with my sister's wishes. I asked him to leave. He became angry, caused a scene, and accused me of being cruel and preventing him from saying goodbye. Several family members have since criticized my decision, saying I should have let him stay for closure, saying that funerals saying that funeral are for the living. But I pointed out this was her last wish. He thinks a huge jerk, and am I a refusing to give him anything of hers still? The family is mostly split. So, outside opinion. I'm gonna say that this is a very tough situation because you have a death in the family, and I'm gonna say you're not the bad person in the situation because it's true what your sister who passed away said. In life, you have time to reconnect with people and really show your affection, show your love for the person, and to outright just refuse that love. I think that effectively takes the right from you to even go to that person's funeral, especially if it's the person's last wishes. I mean, I know this is a very tough time for the family to be going through, but at the same time, when someone has their will or their final wishes, it's important to respect that because that's effectively the last thing that they wanted from you, as your love, as your loved one. So it's important to respect those wishes because that's effectively, there's not much more they can ask for after that. So if you can just respect that last wish, I think that's very important and it's very key to help you move on from your loss. And I know that, for example, the person in this story, John, he effectively made it an absolute point to effectively continue to pester her even until her death wish. So I think overall, like, you did the right decision of making sure that your sister's final wishes were met, and you're thank you for that. So I would say, during situations like this, high stress situations like this, it's important to keep a balance between the person's wishes, which I think is very important, and as well as, like, keeping the family in check when emotions like this rise up. So yeah, thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Anthony and I'm the host of TheLostSanctuary. I hope you've been enjoying our content so far, and if you have, please feel free to like and subscribe. Also, we have our website up here, and we also have some socials down here, and as always, leave your comments down below. So, am I the bad person for relocating while telling my parents and siblings and refusing to give my brother a house down payment? And relocating out of my home state in 2 weeks. I went no contact with my parents and siblings nearly 4 years ago, shortly after I purchased my current home. My parents are very blue collar and grew up with only brothers. My brother is the only boy, the baby, autistic, and named his only son after my brother who passed away. He gets everything. My sister is very masculine, blue collar, lesbian. I'm white collar, educated, and very girly. My entire life, I've always been the outsider, and they made sure I knew that. Harshly, it was worse whenever I succeeded in life. No contact with them was the best thing I could have ever done for my mental health, and I'll never go back unless they're all in intensive therapy. Fast forward to this week, they found out I'm relocating out of state and selling my home. Naturally, the horrific texts have started rolled through and are extra special. They know what I bought it for, and a simple search, they will know what I'm selling for. They're hurt. I didn't tell them and want money. They gifted me to get my home to give my brother. I refused to give them any access to my life. They gifted my sister her down payment and me, but are unable to for my brother. Of course, they think I am an AH and a few more choice words. My cousin and uncle say I should give them the money because it's only 1/3 of my proceeds. I refuse. They gave my savings account to him that I had been building for years, but I'm second guessing my decision to not tell them where I'm going or giving them the money back. I'm still their daughter, and they want to know my whereabouts. My brother has a 3-year-old son and a 1-year-old daughter. It's expensive where we are, and I want the kids to have stability. So, am I the bad person? Added to answer common questions. I am no contact. I do not initiate or engage with them at all. I don't have them blocked due to they will text me about important family updates like my uncle died or was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I have 11. Also for evidence if needed for an injunction of harassment or something else, which has been the case in 2021. They found out through a family member who has early Alzheimer's. I will not go no contact or scold someone with a horrible disease over this. The savings account was a conservator account from when my brother and I got a settlement as babies. We both needed to be 18 and a quarter to withdraw, but could add. I took advantage of it by adding birthday money and chore money. My mom managed to get the court order for both when my brother turned 18. I was 19, and the bank gave her the funds. She gave it to my brother. I have no idea why she did and can only guess. So, this is a very tricky situation, and I'm going to say in this case that you are the bad person, and I'll say why. It's because I know that. So, think of it this way. Even though you may think that escaping your family is the best course of action, sometimes, I understand that you've had some rough times with your family, and it's hard because, as you said, like, they still, so even though, you say that, hey, like, your family has been tough on you, but at the same time, I do see some kind gestures here and there where, for example, they gave you a down payment, for example, for your house, I'm assuming. And also they do help you out by even keeping you updated on family events. I know there's no perfect family. There's no perfect family, and there's always going to be quarrels within the family. There's always going to be, someone who's effectively, it happens sometimes. Sometimes someone is treated better than another person. It just happens in every family. So I would say sometimes you have to understand that, and if and it's if essentially you're really giving them. I know that, for example, you do want to have a leg up when you move, but at the same time you have to think about maybe your brother's situation where if he doesn't have this money, he effectively can't have his own home. So essentially you'll have your new place. You'll still have 2/3 of the money, so you essentially will be in a much better place, luckily, hopefully, in that regard. And then your brother will also have his house. So if you decide again to go no contact with your family, that's perfectly fine. But at the same time, if this 1/3 money can change your brother's life for the better, I think that's a great thing. It's something that will help him in the long run, and hopefully, he, even in the future when you meet up again, you'll definitely see eye to eye a lot more, and hopefully, you'll grow to love each other. I know it's a tough thing because even sometimes when you're in your early stages of life, you think that you're just gonna hate your sibling forever, but over time it kind of wanes, and you actually start to love them, and you start to be more tolerant of more things. So hopefully you guys can reconcile at one point, but if not, then I'm wishing you all the best. All right, so that's gonna conclude Am I the Bad Person episode 9. I wish you guys all the best, and adios. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing an amazing job, and I'm wishing everyone out there all the best. All right, until next time, adios.